Welcome, welcome, welcome to the first episode of the Heck Yeah Projector Business and Abundance podcast. My name is Alexandra Daniele. I usually just go by Alex though, and my voice is still a little funky because colds. But today you are getting a double treat, and it's so fun. You are going to love this. You're going to get two Germans living in America, and we are going to talk about what, as a projector, you can learn from a generator in business. And today we have the amazing Analena Fuchs, who is a dear friend of mine for many years now. And for those of you who know us, you might have heard this, but we actually met on the internet a few years ago. Is it 5 years ago?
Well, it's gonna be the 6th year. It's 5.5 already.
And we found each other in another program that we did as chicken baby coaches.
Yeah,
And
chicken.
chicken. And we realized that we're from the same little German hometown. So we've
Mm-hmm.
been friends ever since. We've also been business buddies and business, how do you call it, together. And now we're more friends again, and we're partnering in our network marketing thing together, but we're also just loving talking to each other, all things human design and astrology. Most days we're on Voxer with each other. And I am so blessed and honored to have you here today as my first guest for the podcast. So welcome.
Yeah, thank you for having me. It's my pleasure, obviously.
And yeah, and the thing that you need to know about Annalena is she is, first of all, a very gifted and highly qualified human design reader and, if you may say so, analyst. But much more than that, she's
Mhm.
also very business oriented. She is very intuitive about all the things, and now is also adding on astrology onto all of this. So her
Mm.
view on everything, she knows projectors really, really well. And do you want to introduce yourself and your design a little bit and
Yeah.
how you
Actually,
see life?
first, because my need for perfectionism, I'm not an analyst, right, in human design because we are not allowed to use that. I was trained by Karen Parker, so um, yeah, just wanted to add that.
Oh, good. Now I know. We can't say
Because
about it.
we're not allowed to say it apparently. So anyways, yeah, I love all things human design, gene keys, astrology, like you said. I have my own podcast called The Art of Slowing Down, and I do all things human design, gene keys, and astrology, and all things slowing down basically on there to help conscious introvert leaders build a business with more ease and effortlessness, because the hustle thing is not my cup of tea. And you may be surprised because I am in tropical human design. I'm a manifesting generator, and in cosmic or true sidereal human design, that may be a little bit advanced right now. It's just different type of astrology here. I'm a generator, but I'm a generator type either way. So I have a defined sequel. And I know that very often in the human design communities, we hear this thing like, well, we're not doing it the generator way anymore. And I want to say that's maybe not the right way to say it because generators are burned out left and right, and it's through the undefined sacral or the human design shot in itself that also myself I have learned about, okay, how are we supposed to use our energy, right? And there's always this saying like, do what lights you up, do what comes easy to you, do what is your innate genius, right? And the thing is, very often or way too often, we say yes to all the things, because it feels so flattering and oh my God, they want to work with me, they want to do this. And we say yes, yes, yes to everything. And then we burn out because we do way too many things, right? And I think that has been such a hustle culture for decades and decades and decades, right? And I think everyone, no matter what your human design is, and I think the projector archetype, how I like to call it, is really modeling that to us and helps us learn about this really the most, that we are more here to enjoy life more and run businesses and make money in a way that is more fun and more joyous, right? Where it's not just like I have to work my butt off to meet ends, right? But rather than my priority is to enjoy life and actually allow myself to do the thing that comes easy to me, to do the thing that lights me up, that doesn't even feel like work. And from that place, we can create abundance all around us and also allow other people to do what they're good at, because you don't have to do it all, right? So I think that was a little bit more than just sharing who I am, but I'm very passionate about talking these kind of things.
Yes, and I love what you said about, because in our Facebook group, the Projector Purpose Playground, we have, I think, about 4,000 people now. And
Wow.
yeah, and a lot of these conversations are around, oh, I'm so sick of doing it the generator way, right? And
Mm,
I made a post in there the other day and I said, if you actually did it the generator way, you would also listen to your sacral, because you have a sacral, and the sacral is all about like, what's
mm,
the heck yes, right? What feels,
yeah.
like you always say, what lights me up, what lights up my sacral is a yes. Um, and this whole like, I'm lazy, I'm a projector, or I don't have energy, I'm a projector. Um, I've seen so many people who are generator types who are also lazy or without energy, like you said, because they're saying yes to the wrong things, right? And
Mm,
that is like, in many ways, all of us types, we're not that different, right? Like, before we started recording, Analena joked and she said, sometimes I wonder like which of us is the generator, because Alex is always doing all these things, I'm always like signing up and learning new and doing this and doing that. I feel like you are also doing a ton of stuff. I was like, how is she recording
mm,
one podcast episode a day, basically, right? And you do a
mm,
ton of things, but um in my tropical human design, I'm a 1-3 self-projected projector with the throat and the G center defined. And in my cosmic, which I've been following, and if you don't know what that is, we'll probably talk about that at some point on a deeper level too, or hop on one of our Instagrams. We will, we've been talking about that there, but that's basically where the stars actually were when you were born.
mm,
And Annalena and me and a lot of our astrologer friends and some other people who've been trying on their tropical human design suit for many years, we were actually ready to move into our true sky activation. But that's not a right or a wrong thing, right? But just to say, like, there's a slight difference and none of them are wrong. Um, but there I am a mental projector with head and ajna defined. So
mm.
nowhere I have any unless you look at another sidereal calculation where I'm an emotional generator, right? So you can calculate all kinds of things.
Yeah, exactly. Mm,
In the two calculations that matter most to me, I don't have any motor centers defined, right? Yet, but I love working. I've never had no energy. Like, and now I understand in my true sidereal um, astrology, in my true sky astrology, I'm a Virgo rising. So Virgos love working, right? Always loving like anything that's of service, like how can we do this better, and optimizing details, all the things.
mm.
And then my vocation is a Capricorn gate. So I'm like, let's do goals, guys. Let's do this, right? And so it's not just about like being a projector, having no energy. It's like doing it the right way that works for you, and having your chart guide you, but don't be a slave to your chart, right? Don't
Yeah.
believe all the stories out there.
Yeah, because we can so easily limit ourselves, right? I mean, if we tell ourselves the story, I'm this human design type, and because of this, I can't do this and that, then we're actually using human design in a way that I think it's not intended to, right? Because it's like limiting ourselves. And also think about it. If we put all of humans into 5 types, I mean, that's mission impossible already, right? I mean, you can be a projector and I can be a projector and our charts look completely different, right? Like completely different. And I can be a generator, and I can have a lot of elements of a projector in my chart. That's why I actually, over the years, which I'm actually happy about, because you know me, right? I have always been this like, well, I mean, I love the types as well. I have gained so much knowledge and wisdom from that. But as I've studied the charts deeper, and especially the gates and the channels, so the majority of energies in the charts are projected energies. So don't think that because you're a projector, you're screwed because you have to wait for an invitation. You know, waiting for invitation, one, does not mean you have to wait for other people to give you permission. I always like to say it's like an invitation from the universe.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and it's the same for me as a generator type. The way to respond is also this like tap more into your feminine while you do what lights you up, go about being in the present moment, you know, and then let things come to you. And then you respond with your authority. If that's your defined sacral, if that's your spleen, if that's your ego or emotional authority, right? It's always like what feels right in the body. So we can actually simplify human design where we're going to be like, okay, don't force things, don't push things. The mind is not here to make decisions. Get out of the head into the body and really trust what feels right in your body and set healthy boundaries, right? I mean, there's tons of people out there having very successful, very fulfilled lives and businesses, and they know nothing about human design. So while I love human design, obviously, right? But we have to be very, very careful not to use it in a way, you know, to limit ourselves and put ourselves in a box.
I love this. And you, like, no matter with your manifesting generator or generator design, right? But you, from the beginning, you've always said, I feel very projectory myself, right? And now,
Mhm.
you know, all like what you just said with all the channels and gates and the projected energies. And like when you look at your chart, for example, then you're like a projector generator, right?
Yeah, yeah. Yeah.
Like, right?
So in my manifesting generator chart, in my tropical, my incarnation cross is all projected. It's all gates coming off the G center. And it's about actually guiding people. It's like literally projector archetype. In the Jinkies, it says, you're here, one of the greatest guides for others. And I'm like, well, but I have to be projected to do this, right? So that's when I started to be like, hold on, you know, we can all be guides in some way. And in my cosmic human design or true sidereal, I'm a generator, but I have had an ajna defined. So like you, but I have a bunch of other stuff defined down here. So I also need to talk a lot and bounce things out, ideas like a sounding board, right? And it's also I have a split. So I literally feel up here like a projector and then here like a generator, and it's all going on, right? So, and then also, I mean, we have transits, right? So even
Love
if,
them.
yeah, and also you guys, most of you projectors will have at least one sacral gate defined. It's actually very rare that people have a completely open sacral. You know, anytime you have transits, you may feel as if the sacral is defined once you're around other people. So it's definitely not the case that you don't have energy. I really believe that every human, when we really trust our body, we will have exactly the energy that we need to fulfill our purpose. There's no lack of energy. It's just we have to redirect it in the right way. I think we have been using our energy in the wrong way, right? For way too long, where we have been doing the things that we thought we have to, that we think we should, or other people told us we're so good at, and then we get flattered and we do something from a people-pleasing perspective. Or also oftentimes from a place of fear where we're like, yeah, who am I to write a book? I'm not going to do it, you know? And then we force ourselves to keep doing the accounting office job, and it sucks the life out of us, you know? If you're a generator or a manifestor or a projector, you are going to get burnt out, you know? So, and then also in astrology, right? Like you were saying, it gives you so many subtleties, like your Virgo energy, your Capricorn energy, right? And a lot of energies in the chart, right? Any cardinal energy is initiating energy, right? Or Aries energy, Mars. It's all like, well, you're gonna manifest. It's manifestor energy, right? So we literally have elements of all of the types. It's just that some parts has kind of the biggest impact in some way that you can identify with, right? And honestly, ultimately, I also find, and obviously, you and I, we have been our human design journey for like 5 years now. So we are kind of transcending our charts, I think, at some point. At least I have been there, because before we got into the cosmic human design, I was kind of like, well, I don't need to look at my chart that much anymore. And because I'm trusting myself, because all human design is here for, in my humble opinion, take that or leave it, right? If that resonates with you, is that you want to trust yourself.
And you
I
know where in your body you can trust yourself, right?
Yeah, that takes practice, right? So even when you hear this thing like, oh, generators, they have this sacral response, you know what? That's not an easy thing. I have worked with so many generators and manifesting generators, and everybody feels it differently. For
Mhm.
some, it's like a whole body feeling. For other ones, it's really like this gut kind of feeling sensation there. Other people, it feels like a flower is opening up, or they see. Because how we connect to our inner knowing is different for us. It has also a lot to do with our the elements that we have mostly in our chart from astrology. If you have more earth, air, and all these kind of things. So that's also, you have to practice how it feels in your body. Even some people do muscle testing, right? If your body is leaning forward, that's a yes. If your body is leaning backwards, that's a no. So, we have to, I think, be a little bit open-minded and see kind of beyond those structures that human design has put into place. And also, in the very beginning, there were no types in human design. The initial download, there were no types. That came later because I started to notice certain patterns in the chart and then created these types, which is also for sales and marketing and making this more accessible in a way, kind of better. So that's also, let's keep that in mind. And also, in the gene keys, we don't have any types, right? And
Yeah.
it's still awesome and it works.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I I love all of this, and I think this conversation will be everything you said will be so expansive to the listeners because it'll crack so many people out of like, oh my God, now I don't have to like be this anymore, or I can be so much more than just that, you know? And what you said earlier too, like, yes, you've always been a generator, you've always been my generator, but I trust you with your guidance way more than some projectors in my life who are quote unquote made for guiding, right? So
Mm.
it's we are so much more than the chart, and it's so beautiful to have the elements of the chart to look to for inspiration. But like what you said, it's about how can we learn to have that relationship with ourselves so we can trust ourselves so much. And that's why I always love to study artists. I'm
Mm.
much into looking at musician charts because
Mm.
when you follow the path of creativity and somebody who's made a living out of their creativity, then for me, that's a good indicator that they're on their purpose, right? Because what else do we really have than our creativity, right? Yes, we do have our conditioning, but at one point that'll crack us, right? So,
Mm.
what I like to see now more and more is like, because we also talked about this offline. We have Annalena and I almost have daily conversations and um, about masculine marketing and feminine marketing, right? And
Mm.
generator marketing and non-generator and projector marketing. And Annalena sells and markets her business in a very soft and gentle, feel-good way, just like very projector friendly, right? So I'm feeling more into this also, like everywhere in the chart that is undefined, I see that like that's feminine energy, that's wisdom,
Mm.
that's receptivity, right? And everywhere where you're defined in the chart, you have more of that push outward energy, right? Our teacher Karen always used to say it's kind of like an antenna, and you're radiating out that energy, right? So it's more like sun, outgoing, doing, forward energy, right? So, and then when you think about it, like you said, as a generator, you're also waiting for cues from the universe to react to. So that's also a very receptive, like receiving kind of energy, right?
Yeah.
Even though you have the sacral defined, but that's like you spark and then you do, right? Whereas maybe a manifester or manifesting generator with a motor to the throat, they might be more into that, like, oh yeah, let's go, let's do this, let's forward, right? And yes, they also, I mean, you have experience more also with that manifesting generator process, like of multiple steps, right? But um it's not black and white. It's always like all the elements in the chart, right? And then your astrology comes into play as well. Like I feel like if you're just doing human design without putting astrology in there as well, you're kind of missing out. So there's just so much there that we are, and then we're even that much more.
Yeah, I mean, in the end of the day, you're everything. And even our teacher, Karen Parker, she always said, right, you have all of the chart. It's just like some is more defined. That's what we put out into the world. Some is undefined. But as we have learned now with the astrology, our charts can easily change. It's constant. Everything is changing constantly. Even though, yeah, you have your birth chart, we are always affected by the planets, by the people that are around us and everything, right? So I always say, like, take what resonates with you and really makes you feel more empowered and leave the rest. If there's anything with any modality, if that's human design, gene keys, astrology, enneagram, I mean, there's tons of things out there, right? If that makes you feel like you can't do something or you're screwed, throw it in the trash can. Seriously.
Yeah.
No, for real. I mean, and just because something like human design changed my freaking life, and I absolutely love it. You may be watching this right now, and it's like, I think it's BS, and that's okay. You know, and it may not be for you. You know, we have so many, luckily, I feel so blessed that we have these incredible tools because I was very lost in my life. I was always seeking for the truth and who am I? Why do I feel so unfulfilled? Like, what do have other people figured out that I have not? I think for you and I, human design has really been that thing. I mean, you were the person that told me about human design at the time. I clearly remember that. It's all Alex's fault, you know?
That's my 51 in my Mercury.
Yeah, so that was you. You simply sharing with me, right? Out of love. And I cannot tell you guys how grateful I am for that. It's just incredible. And for me, human design was always easy. It made all sense and everything. And there are some other people that think it's totally complicated, doesn't make any sense, and creates confusion. And that's because maybe that's not for them. You know, we are being pulled to different kind of things, right? And if for you, learning that you're a projector is so life-changing and finally helps you understand that you need to do more self-care and really slow down more and listen to your body more, then what a gift, how amazing that is, right? But don't ever let it limit yourself in any way or form because you can do and be anything you want.
Oh my gosh. That's why I wanted you for the first episode, you know?
I
That's,
mean, I hope I'm not crushing everybody's worlds about, you know, human design and projectors, but that's my truth.
no, I feel like this is the right thing to do though, because the expansion, like what feels most, I like, people ask me like, what should I do as a projector? Like there's no such thing, right? No such answer as this. And when people ask like, what should I do? Also in my business coaching, then it's like, what feels most expansive to you, right?
Mm.
Not like, oh my God, how can I navigate the terrain and make like the safest decision and like stay kind of like down here and just, then you're always just like trying to like
Mm.
do damage control. But if you want to rise above that level and feel more expansive, no matter like what your design looks like, and get answers without having a chart reading every time, right? Just ask yourself, like, what feels most expansive in your body, right? Even if it's nerve-wracking or gives you a little bit of fear, but that's like
Mm.
the way forward, right?
Especially that, right? That's really what human design has helped me so much to trust that inner knowing. And when you follow your authority, right? No matter what your authority is right now, it takes you into the unknown. It
Mhm.
takes you into the new, and that is going to be what? Uncomfortable. And our unconscious wants to always keep us in what we know, right? What is familiar to us. And that is more when we make decisions from the mind, what makes sense, what feels comfortable, right? But when you really follow your body, it takes you to things that initially you have this body, yes, and then you, oh my God, what I'm getting myself into here. I have no idea what I'm gonna do. And then the fears come up, and then it's often when we stop, right? We talk ourselves out of it. But the more you have the courage to trust yourself, that's when you can really create a lot of magic. And that's why having a business coach, mentor, guide on your side is so helpful, right? Because we tend to sabotage ourselves quickly and go back to where we were, right? And if you can have somebody like Alex, like me, that's reflecting back your magic and reflecting back to who you are, right? It's so much easier for you to really step into that and continue trusting yourself. And once you get a taste of how amazing things get in your personal life and business, when you really trust yourself and you do things your way instead of following what everybody else is trying to tell you you should do, you're gonna get hooked, right? And you're gonna be like, "Ooh, this is too delicious. I want to keep going here." And then you train this muscle of trusting yourself. I truly believe that's the best muscle you can ever train in life, to trust yourself.
And Annalena and I, we both have successful businesses that we love, but we're by no shape or form done
Oh
exploring
no, girl. We're just getting
and
started.
yeah, and developing and growing. We're always doing this work. And like when we look back from now to like when we first started with our human design journey and our when we were still like chicken baby coaches, and
Mm,
we already did beautiful work, but I remember how many freakouts we had, right?
mm,
Like you and I, like we've held each other in friendship and in our hearts through so much fear and so much growth. And we both also had coaches like on
mm,
like like on top of our friendships, like right, because we both needed somebody also who had like the mentorship aspect of it,
yeah.
skills and the experience. But at some point you just understand, you just start to learn like, oh, my authority is my friend, right? And my mind is also a friend, but more like that kind of aunt that will tell you, no, that don't do that, that's too dangerous, right? And
Mm,
so I like to listen to the friend who always has like the bigger picture and the more expansive, like, oh, if we do that, then we have this kind of future ahead of us. And I'm like, oh, but it's
mm.
scary. Okay, I'll do it, right? It's
Yeah.
just this ongoing journey. And I feel like you have to be a growth junkie kind of to have a successful business, right? But that's the beauty of
Mm.
it too.
No, definitely. And I'm with you on that, right? I love learning. That's actually something that gives me energy to learn new things, like human design. Now I'm deeper getting into astrology. But I have also learned to not overdo it, right? Because there's so much information. Because, when we started our business, it was always this like, I need to take the next course. I need to take the next course, and always consuming, consuming, and consuming. Like, and it really shifted for me is when I realized I have to become the creator. I have to stop consuming everything and start actually creating my own stuff. And now it's a balancing act, right? Of course, it's priorities always keep creating output in my business, right? Creating content, if that's a podcast, emails, courses, masterclasses, but also still learning new things and receiving support, because I don't see sometimes my own or many many times don't see my own limitations, right? That's the power of human connection. That's the power, I believe, of coaching, where you have somebody else that can give you space so that you can actually tap into your own truth, and let go of the self-doubt, which I think we all have from time to time or almost every day, you know?
And this is why it's so important, especially as a business owner, to understand what is the difference? Like, what is actually my authority, right?
Mm,
Do I need to sign, and I needed to sign up for a lot of courses because I needed a lot of business skills. I'd never had my own business
yeah.
before. So a lot of that was I needed skills. And then maybe maybe I've signed up for courses too out of fear and lack and not feeling good enough and like peer pressure, right? Like, oh, everyone's doing
Mm,
this, I need to do it. But this is where over time you become more wise about this stuff. And I continually buy courses because I also love learning, right? But then it's like, is this from my authority being a yes to it, from expansion, or is this from lack and fear and somebody needs to
mm,
save me, right? And
mm.
yeah,
Yeah, that's a good point. So one thing that I have learned, I think that's going to be helpful for anybody, no matter what human design type, if you have emotional authority or not, by the way. Any time where it's just like, oh my God, I need to do this, and you get really hyped up, especially if it's a big investment, right? I mean, if it's a $25 course, like, don't sweat about it. But because you with emotional authority, you want to ride out your wave anyways. You don't want to make decisions. But also if you have an undefined solar plexus like me, I can amplify other people's emotions, right? I can actually feel even more excited. And these were always like not so good investments on my end that I then regretted. And I have really learned to slow down. So this really applies to all of us. We making big decisions for your business where you invest a lot of time, energy, or let's say like you're gonna just want to work with somebody for a year because somebody told you of how amazing they are and paint you this picture of like, oh my God, everything is going to change, and you get super excited and you pull out a loan for $20,000. And then the next day you wake up and you're like, damn, I don't even resonate with this person or whatever, right? And then you're going to be stuck with that for like a whole year. So those kind of things I always invite people, um, get in a calm space. Really, right decisions come from a grounded, expansive, and calm space. It's not this like hyped up, oh my God, I need to do this feeling. That's what I have really learned through big lessons. And I think I have saved a lot of people a lot of money with that already. So,
it's good. And just another good reminder that even if your emotional solar plexus is undefined, you can still have an emotional wave, right? It's just
yeah,
it's just
many more. You keep amplifying all around you, right?
all the
It's just
emotional
more
waves.
variety. Yeah.
I have
Yeah.
all the varieties of all the emotional waves. Sometimes I wish I had an emotional solar plexus defined because then at least you know what you're dealing with. For me, it's always
Mm.
like, well,
Yeah.
do you have anything else you would like to share
Hmm.
from your heart?
Yeah, just really don't let yourself box yourself in by anything or over identify with anything, because I think it's very easy that we actually, even unconsciously, most of the time limit ourselves in any way or form, right? So, especially since this podcast is for projectors, you have no disadvantage at all. I really believe that. Everything that you're here for in this world will happen for you, right? Like all the invitations are here for you. The question is like, are you open to receive them, right? Do you believe in yourself? Do you trust yourself? Do you value yourself? Do you see yourself? So that's, I think, the big work here. And again, for all of us.
This is so good. Thank you. I think this episode alone is worth everything already. And thank you for joining us. Thank you for joining me. Thank you for opening up this space together and for doing life together as friends and business partners. And if you would like to find Analena on the internet, I will put her Instagram below. She also gives amazing human design readings, maybe also astrology soon, or a
Mhm.
mixture of all of the above. It's very expansive, as you can tell by how she sees things. You will leave feeling like a new person. So Find her on the internet. Follow her anyways, because she has the best Instagram human design content. And thanks for joining today. See you
Thank
next
you.
week.
It was my pleasure.
Thank you. I was gonna
Stop recording.